I've quit a challenging full-time job as a consultant, and soon after I found myself doubling my caffeine intake, but I couldn't understand why. I realized that my body was actually addicted to the stress and to the grind, and that somehow I loved to wake up before my mind wanted to and to keep going longer than my body wanted to. But this is not the only type of stress, and learning about this new concept can really make your productivity a lot more sustainable. Stress can actually be a good thing. There's something called Eustress, which is a good type of stress. Let go of the idea that stress will always make you feel anxious, because when you are feeling eustress, you will be feeling positive, energized, excited, confident, focused. And if that rings a bell, that is because this is exactly what you are experiencing when you are in a flow state. But there's one really important thing to remember about flow state, and that is that there is always a very brief period of resistance before you hit this flow state. Because before writing, for example, a script for a video, my mind is saying things like, it's not going to work out, I don't feel creative, I need to wait for inspiration, let's find out and research the best way to avoid slugs eating my coriander plants. And if I keep going, 15 minutes later I'm writing the script of this video. Stress is embedded into our culture. Our culture is high energy, upbeat, caffeinated, productive, to the point where, including myself, we feel guilty when we are not productive during a day. I agree that we are made to work, but we are also made to rest. Ants, for example, take 1-minute power naps, up to 400 a day. And lions can sleep up to 20 hours per day. Humanity is getting less and less sleep. The CEO of Netflix even says that sleep is their main competitor. We are living in the always on culture. So how do you get things done without feeling the anxious type of stress? You can use the adrenaline score framework. First, figure out what your adrenaline score is. Are you 1, super relaxed, where it's like you just had a bone-cracking, neck-snapping massage? Or are you 10, hyped up, stressed and anxious, fueled up on caffeine and chemically processed sacred plants like a wolf of Wall Street when the whole market is bearish? So you just notice your score between 1 and 10 and you figure out where you need to be. Are you going to give people a TED talk about your awesome pet rock? Then you might need a score of 7 because it's good to be a little bit stressed about it. But maybe you're going to give people a guided meditation to reconnect with their inner sloth. And a score of 4 might be enough. If your score needs to be higher, you can do a few of the following things. Take a cold shower or a cold bath. Drink some mate or coffee. Dance your best impersonation of an electric eel, or listen to some upbeat music. But when you feel too hyped up, you can also do a few things. For example, breathing deeply for a few times until you notice that your score of your adrenaline is lowering. You can meditate, you can journal to set a clear goal. You can caress your cat or your pet rock, or lay on the bed and listen to some calm music. Me and people around me feel guilty for not being productive enough for 8 hours a day. You might feel worthless if you didn't work the whole day, and your self-worth depends on your output. And you only feel relief after writing a big paper or an article or creating a website, and then you allow yourself to rest. But not for long. And if you plan on building a business, click the link in the description below, because I'm going to build you a kick-ass website. So what is it about our culture that makes us so obsessive about work? In the video Our Society's Blind Spot Explained, I talk about the core of our culture's thinking. In short, it started with OG philosophers like Plato, because the ancient Greek believed that creation comes where the god Apollo and the god Dionysus meet. This is the fine line between orgies and war, structure and chaos, clarity and intoxication, and logics and emotion. And the Greeks valued both sides. But our current culture only values Apollonian traits like clarity, structure, logics. And Nietzsche, the guy with the funky mustache, said that this creates a dangerous shadow side inside of our culture, because we are repressing a part of us, a part that is chaotic, emotional, intoxicated, and orgiastic. I don't know if that's a word, but I just made that up. And what you resist persists. But where did this worship of structure and clarity start? It's not one moment where structure and clarity just instantaneously happened, but traces of it can be found long time ago. There are actually archaeological findings of pre-human times which suggest that our ancestors already made a division of labor. Archaeologists found piles of big rock chippings next to other piles of big rock chippings that are smaller and smaller. This suggests that the big, strong caveman did the rough work. He handed his stone over to the cave woman or caveman next to him, who did a bit more finer work, and the stone ended up at the last person who had the most eye for detail. That is, if he didn't lose it while chipping rocks all day. And this person turned it into a very sharp stone tool. Were they obsessed with productivity? Did they have to show up from 9 to 5 in their best caveman suit? Did they have targets to meet? Most likely not, as they couldn't even count to more than 5 mammoths. This productivity obsession is an emergent property of the system that we are living in. An emergent property is when parts come together and they create a new function. For example, the parts in a vacuum cleaner separately don't have a function of sucking, but together they suck really well. And I know what you're thinking of right now. None of the individual 170 billion brain cells thinks it's you, but together you think you are you and you have a sense of self. A violin, a drum, a clarinet or a cello, separate are just musicians, but together they are Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. Dun, 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 dun. An ant alone will die, but millions of them together will make a thriving nest. In the same way, it's not in an individual's nature to work from 9 to 5, but yet we do, because that's how the system works. We are hunter-gatherers. Sometimes you work from 8 till 8, and sometimes you work from 12 to 3. You hunt that mammoth, and then you rest for a few weeks. Or you hunt that chicken off the wood like I did last week, and then you rest for a while. I love working, don't get me wrong, it brings meaning to life, but what makes us so productivity obsessed? So here's a list. Maybe your caretaker made you feel worthy only when you produce something, and now you have internalized that voice. Or some of your colleagues might actually think the same thing as you, but no one speaks up because everyone thinks it's normal. The production line, which was invented during the Industrial Revolution, needs a consistent form of input. People need to be reliantly showing up. It can't stand still, and this will soon change. We are living in an achievement society. They told you that the number on your report card determines your future. The panopticon effect, aka peer pressure. I used to live in Japan and people never leave the office before the boss leaves. Money, which is great, don't get me wrong, but is virtual in essence. This makes it that you can never have enough, unlike shoes or apples or coffee. Okay, maybe not that last one. A deep sense of unsafety. Look at the COVID pandemic. People started hoarding toilet paper and other life supplies because more feels safer. I don't try to fix this productivity obsession. I used to have the opposite problem of never getting anything done. So I'm happily surfing the productivity wave. If you need help with focusing or productivity, check the link in the description because I'm giving free focus tutoring sessions. Thank you for watching, subscribe and don't forget to eat your broccoli.